Inconsistent.
So this is not the basement. This is a new podcast.
Well, so we originally were the basement, but we're right now we're transitioning into something new because
Nice.
we're rebranding.
Cool.
The basement, we've been doing it for like 7 years now.
Yeah.
So we want to actually start fresh
Nice.
with something completely different. So right now, what we've been lining up is people coming on and teaching us stuff because neither one of us have any kind of schooling. We both have our GEDs. That's far
sweet.
as we've gotten in, education. So we're like, hey, we'll have people on to teach us things, to show us stuff, Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to GD Squared. Today we have a special guest on Discord. His name is Jordan. He's the founder of a crypto AI software called Satori. Is that correct? Is that the correct pronunciation?
That's right.
Yeah, Satori. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Satori?
So Satori is a crypto AI project. So it's decentralized AI. We're trying to decentralize it. There's lots of centralized solutions now, and these companies that are making AI are getting more powerful. So our main goal was to just decentralize AI, make it so that anybody can help produce it, anybody can gain the benefit from it. We want to decentralize the power of AI.
Okay, so when you say decentralized, do you mean that the average person can have access to this AI and change it?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Can have
That's
access to it.
insane.
Can help train it. Can help build it with very little effort. So that's the goal.
You know what? I was just looking into this morning about something similar to see if I could find something like that, and there's not really anything like that. Because I was just talking to this guy last night, and I had an idea. I was like, why don't they make a software for each student in school, so that way it can teach, the AI itself would change to educate the kid the best way the kid knows how to learn.
Right. Yes.
And I was like, that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, because some kids, they don't learn, they like to learn by reading. Other kids like learning by action. So if the AI can change itself to help the kid learn how it wants to learn, that's what this sounds like. This sounds like something we can do for that, right? That it's like that. You can edit it to help you do whatever, right?
So Satori is, it doesn't have those kind of capabilities yet.
Not yet.
But, one way you could do that, or one way you could start building a business that does just that, is you could train the AI on the kid, right? Yeah. So right now, AIs are trained on all of our language, these large language models that we make. And you can specialize them, though, after the fact. So you can train them on a particular person so that they sound like that person. So I think the way to start accomplishing what you've kind of mentioned is to train it on the kid itself. Everything they read, everything they write, everything they say, it listens, it knows how they think. And so it can talk in their language, and it can say the things the way they would understand it best. It can translate all knowledge into what is best for them to understand. I think that's how you begin. And I actually think that's going to come. I think we're all going to have some kind of AI agent that is our own, kind of specialized just for us. It might not look exactly like that, but I think that kind of thing is coming.
I pictured it like we're all going to have our own Cortana. She's just going to be hovering above us.
Right.
And in a way, we already have that, right? So again, the name of this podcast is GED, to the power of two people barely surviving in this multiverse here. But when I think about it, I think about Cortana, I think about this, and we already have it with our like cookies and our search history, our search engines that already have a database on us. But it sounds like what you're describing is correct me if I'm wrong, because I like to like sort of step into podcasts sometimes, not knowing sugar honey iced tea, right? That
Sure.
way I could go in there like ask as many questions as I possibly can and not be prepared, right? That's sort of how not to live your life. Don't get a GED, stay in school. But it sounds like you're trying to fight for this open platform, just like cryptocurrency. Like when I hear decentralized, I think about cryptocurrency, and the purpose of cryptocurrency is so that not any entity can own ownership over this community-based whatever
That's
it
right.
is, money,
That's
or and in this case technology, in particular artificial intelligence. Am I hitting that right with what you, the project you're working with?
Absolutely. So it's all about managing the control and disseminating it to as many people, or as many, everything as possible. So democratizing that control of the AI. Now, particularly, Satori is about predicting the future. So there's all kinds of AIs. Right now, AI to people means language. These large language models, they can talk. And so that's been the latest evolution of the AI technology. So that's what it is to people. But there's other AI technologies. You can model anything. So you don't just have to model language. You can model images. And so they were doing that a few years ago, where they were saying this AI figures out if there's a dog in the image and that kind of stuff. So Satori is an AI that predicts the future. That's what it's made to do. And you might say, well, what kind of future? Like, what are we predicting? Are we predicting the stock market or government statistics or the environment, or what are we predicting? And, well, you'd probably want that to be up to everybody. So Satori has a token. If you have some of the token, you can vote on what the AI should look at, what it should predict. You have control over the system at large.
By purchasing tokens.
Well,
or
you could
investing
purchase them,
into it.
You can mine them. Yeah,
Or
you
mine
can
them.
just
Yeah,
download
what's funny,
the
as he was
Satori.
talking, I was looking at the mining of it. This sounds great, honestly. I'm so interested in this. And I can hear like the I don't know how you describe it, like the libertarian leanings in this. Where it's like everybody has access to it. We all share in this thing.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, so I kind of became kind of a libertarian in my 20s.
Yeah.
So I've been through that kind of process, and I think some of it comes from that, some of this idea.
Yeah. And so how did you come to this idea?
So I studied the brain and how data flows, and through systems. I worked in business intelligence and modeling data and stuff like that. So, but in college, I kind of did a lot of studying of the brain, and I kind of just, I didn't get like a degree in brain studies or anything, but I did a lot of it. And so one thing I learned was that the brain it predicts the future on every layer of the brain. So, when you're aware, at the very top layers, you're predicting the future, you're making plans, but also at the very lowest layers, where it's subconscious, it's predicting the future of what you're going to see, what you're going to hear before it ever happens. And so this being able to predict the future very well is what gives our brain its efficiency, which I guess loosely translates to its intelligence in general. Like, you can't be intelligent if you're not efficient. So predicting the future is what gives our brain its power. And so I thought, well, why don't we do that on a network? We could do that with existing technology. We can make models automatically that predict the future. We don't need humans to do it. And we can disseminate that on a network where anybody can download the software and make the network bigger and stronger and better at predicting. And we could probably predict a lot of, the world that's happening, any kind of data set or any kind of data stream that you can find. If you're measuring anything, that's a data stream, because it's going to change in time. And then you can just start predicting it and broadcasting that prediction for free. Anybody who wants to know about the future of that thing, or a good guess or a good model of it, can subscribe to that. that means the other miners can subscribe to those data streams as well. So if you're predicting something that's correlated with other things, which everything's correlated in time. So if you're predicting like the price of gold, you might want to subscribe to the price of silver because they're highly correlated.
Yeah.
You might want to subscribe to its prediction actually and get the prediction. What do the silver predictors think the price will be, on the time scale that I'm predicting gold? And so that's what Satori basically is. It's this worldwide network of future predictors all helping each other predict the future better.
And when you say future prediction, the people that have the coin, they help direct what the AI should predict, correct?
That's right. Because there's way more data streams than there are predictors. So we have to pick and choose. Okay, what data streams matter to us? And the community of token holders are who's in charge of that.
And does this AI, I don't know the right words to use, does it remember everything that was predicted in the past and use that information to predict the future?
It does on kind of a individual scale. So if you download the Satori neuron and start running it on your machine, you're making models, and your engine inside your machine is going to remember its past predictions. And so, it remembers it kind of on a distributed scale.
So whatever, let's say I have the coin and I choose gold. On my machine, it's going to remember that I was interested in gold. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, it would, and it'll start predicting gold or anything, and then it'll remember the predictions that it made of whatever it's predicting.
And if I decide to change my mind in the future and say, hey, instead of gold, predict the next president of the United States,
That's right.
It would still remember the gold. They would keep the memory of the gold.
Yeah, I think it would actually.
So it would build a model specifically on me.
It doesn't actually build a model on you. It could be made to in the future, but it doesn't. Yeah. It just builds models of the data streams that it's watching.
Okay.
So, I gotta break it down because, bananas. I want to learn about bananas. So this AI model code engine is gathering information from banana farmers, but then also going further and looking up information like of pesticides and herbicides and events that have occurred that might affect the crop in a particular area to give me the overall sense of where bananas are going to be because of current events and models, sales, stocks, everything from weather, events that occurred, any kind of information that pertains to this. It would gather that information and start surmising where that particular item would be in a projected period of time.
Yes, exactly. Right. It's going to make correlations with everything else that it can find useful in making a good model of what maybe the price of bananas or maybe you want to track the production of bananas, whatever you're trying to predict will be in the future.
Can I predict the lottery numbers? Because I definitely would want that. That was my first question. I didn't want to forget, but I'm assuming not. What kind of opposition are you getting, if any, from this company and what you're trying to start up? And what do you think, the government and the scheme of things are when it comes to AI and the politics behind where we are with that?
The opposition. Some people I have told this to. I feel like mostly it's just misconceptions. So people will think like, okay, if you're trying to predict, well, the future is technically fundamentally unknowable, so you can't predict it, right? And so they'll stop there and they'll be like, that's it. It's a bad idea. And so I run into misconceptions like that because, speaking of crypto, I had a misconception about Bitcoin the first time I heard it. I mean, I looked into it a little tiny bit. I thought, oh, distributed internet money. Okay, government's going to shut that down. I'm out. And I missed the boat on $1 Bitcoin because I kind of had this misconception, prejudged it early. I came back to it and looked at it and realized, understood the tech more, and realized it's difficult for the government to shut this down. It's made that way. It doesn't have one single entity of failure. Well, this is really interesting. And then I got interested. So I think the misconception there is to say, well, you can't fundamentally predict the future perfectly. Of course not. But you can do better than just randomly guessing, And so that's what this system's trying to do. Just the best prediction we can make of the future. So I do get some misconceptions like that I think if people think it through, they'll figure it out.
Okay. And then question, you built this AI from scratch, or how does that?
So the very first thing I did was build the engine, the AI engine. And so the AI engine, it's not very sophisticated right now because it's just one guy who built it, me, right? And I'm not some deep neural net guru. I'm just kind of a regular programmer. So it's pretty simple, but what it does accomplish is a feedback loop where it sits there on a data stream, or multiple actually, and it listens, and every time it gets a piece of data, it runs it through the model, sees the prediction, broadcasts it out, and when it's not doing that, which is most of the time, 24/7, it's looking at the history data of that data stream and trying to build a model that performs better than the last one that it created. And then as soon as it finds a better model, it says, this is the model that I'm going to use for my predictions going forward.
Oh, wow.
And it throws the other one away. And so it's always trying to get a better model of the way this data stream behaves.
So it's constantly getting quote unquote smarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's interesting. And at what point is it going to take over the world?
I don't know.
Hopefully soon.
Yes.
So we have to scale. To make it really powerful, we have to scale it to have a lot of miners, and we have to evolve, the engine, make it better, and that's going to require expertise that's beyond me. But it could be big someday. I hope.
Yeah. And right now, this is only you can only mine on your computer.
That's right.
So would an app eventually come for the phone? Does that even make sense to have an app on the phone for this?
It probably does a little bit. It runs all the time. So it's always pinging the GPU or the CPU or whatever hardware you have. It's always using it to make better models. And so you probably wouldn't want that on your phone because it would make your phone hot. It would, use the battery up. You'd probably just want that on a machine that's, in your office, or maybe a bigger machine in your garage or something. It's kind of a mining operation.
Yeah. So it's when you say mining, I mean, when I think of crypto, what I'm imagining is that it's using all these computers as a brain.
Yes.
Right? And then it's using the cumulative power of all these computers to build its model. Right? And if you lose a PC, you still have 1,000 others that are working.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
So you actually the brain never shuts off. It's just always on as long as you have at least one computer running.
And in exchange for allowing you to use my computer brain that I got from the Wish app, I'm earning coins and investing into the company
and helping steer
as it grows and help it steer into what it researches while it grows in size and in power.
And then you get a vote because
you're like a stockholder or a shareholder, if you will.
I love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look at
So if you have more coins, does your vote count more?
Yes, it does. That's right.
Wow. Oh,
yeah. So it's buy coin. Yes.
I'm getting in.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So, and how long have you had this server up and running?
So I think it was January 1st this year, we entered alpha, where you could download the software. You weren't earning any tokens whatsoever, but it would run on your machine. And so we entered alpha, where we could do some testing with, a real world network. And then my goal was March, we entered beta. And so the only distinction there was saying we added a test token that is being distributed. And now we can kind of test that that's working and make sure that works well. And so we're in beta right now, and we're developing, fixing any bugs we see, improving it. And my goal is to go into the actual mainnet launch sometime this summer, maybe fall, right? So 3 to 6 months is my goal. Sometimes these software goals are hard to hit, but I kind of feel like we can make that. So that's where we're at right now. If you download it now, you'll earn test token, which are kind of worthless, because as soon as we switch over to mainnet token, that we'll never distribute or care about the test token again. We won't use that for voting or anything. So, but right now we can use it to kind of test the network, make sure everything's working. So, yeah.
Okay.
So voting would stop at a certain point?
Yeah, so we're voting right now on beta, and it's dynamic. So the votes are tallied up once a day. So if you put in a data stream and you have enough token and you vote and you say, hey, I want some of the network to be predicting my data stream. Did I lose you guys? You just disappeared. Sorry.
No, we're still here. It's just, I don't know. He can
Okay.
see us.
So,
Yeah.
so
My
the voting is very
apologies.
dynamic, and then it will never end either. So it will always continue every day. You can change your vote. You can, whatever you want to do. You can stop voting. You can start voting.
And
that just
everybody
means-
vote. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that just means you've put in some token, and you said, I'm not going to move this token for a day, is what that means.
Yeah.
So this token is static. It's on this button to vote for this thing, and I can lift it off and go spend it, and it's no longer being used for voting. So that's how it works.
Okay, and then now when people vote, let's say there's 100 people, and 60% vote the price of gold, and another 40% vote on
Bananas.
right?
Yeah.
Does the AI split like that, or does it just go to the gold because it has the most votes?
It splits just like that.
Oh, okay.
So basically 40% of the nodes, or the neurons, the Satori neurons that are downloaded, will be predicting bananas, and the other 60 will be predicting gold.
I love this distinction of the bananas.
It's pretty vast, I know. And once beta's over with, is there a board that decides on what the search is, or at that point is it an official platform that anyone can use and download, and I guess it becomes like ChatGPT or another AI model that is open to the public, and those original shareholders, for lack of better words, or miners, have the biggest stake, I guess, in the company or in the entity, or is it still or is it another coin that's developed, or does a model change in the mining and the crypto aspect of it?
Good question. So the point of beta is that you try to make it as much like the real running of the mainnet, everything, as possible. So that's the point of beta, is just to try to have this kind of runway where you're testing everything as it would run when it's a real, deployed thing, to make sure there's no bugs, to make sure everything's working well, to maybe develop a few things that you haven't finished. That's the point of beta. So to answer your question, it'll be as much like it is right now as possible after the launch. So the only difference, hopefully, is that there's a different token that's getting distributed, because you don't want to give your the very few people who are interested in this during beta all of the tokens, right? You want to distribute those tokens out to as many people as possible. So you don't start distributing the real token until you've actually launched. So yeah.
Is there a limited amount of tokens that you're going to give out?
For the beta?
There is for the beta, there is definitely a limited amount. It's, as soon as we launch, it's, we'll never do a beta token again. Like, that's it. So, so yes, the beta token is very limited, but the flip side to that is it's useless after launch. It's just a token. It's like an NFT. It doesn't do anything. Whereas the mainnet token will allow you to vote. So, are you guys able to see my screen if I share something?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to the website and just share the website, because to answer your question about it being limited after beta, it's kind of up to the community of token holders. It's a voting thing. They can change this, but let me just show you the plan as of right now. I think this is it. How does that look to you guys?
Yeah, let's check it out.
Okay, we can see the website now.
You're able to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Satori website, community-led mining means the token holders are in charge. So that's what we're employing, community-led mining. So the token itself really is owned by the community. It's not owned by me or the Satori Foundation or anything else. The community gets to make all the decisions. They're the board. Token holders are the board of the token. Okay, so they're in charge. So there's a distribution rate that can be modified in the future by vote by the community. But this is how I've set it up at the beginning. I think it's a good idea. Maybe it needs some modification eventually, but we'll see. So the idea is, in the first cycle, we'll say a cycle is 2 years. Maybe it should be a year. Since we're in beta, this is all kind of up for grabs. But in the first cycle, we're going to mint 1 million tokens. And in the second cycle, we're going to mint 61% of that, 62% of that. And then a third cycle, we're going to mint that exact same amount, 600,000 tokens. And by doing that, we get this kind of linear growth of tokens for the first 3 cycles. And then it kind of tapers off. It goes down by like 60% again and again and again and again, until it reaches kind of almost flat, a maturity level where it's like 2% inflation. So the inflation rate at the beginning is like an infinite amount, because it goes from 0 to 1 million. And then it's 61% inflation, and then it's 38% inflation, and then 23 and 14, and all the way down to about 2. And then I've said, why don't we keep it static at 2? Because we always want to incentivize more miners to enter the system and make more predictions, even after the system has matured. So that is the distribution rate. So technically, it's not limited. It can, it will go up forever. But it goes to
distribution is kind of like Bitcoin, right?
Come again?
The distribution is kind of like Bitcoin, where it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys see this if I open up a new tab? Let's look for Bitcoin distribution. There we go. And we'll just look at an image. You guys can see over time. Having schedule, having chart. That's what we want. I'm sorry. No, that's not what we want. We'll go to this one. I saw it. So you guys see this chart right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
see how in the first cycle it was really steep. A lot of Bitcoin came out. 50% of all Bitcoins came out in the first cycle.
That's when it was at $1. That's when you missed it.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Overmind.
And then 25% came out in the second cycle, and then 12.5% came out. So it has this really extremely steep, curve here. So most of the Bitcoin went to very few number of people. I didn't want that for the Satori project. I wanted it to be kind of linear, kind of flatter, kind of more available to anybody who hears about this later on. That was kind of the goal in doing this kind of distribution instead.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's it. I mean, that answers your question about, is it going to ever have a cap on it? No, actually, it goes down to 2%, and then it just stays there indefinitely.
And then the people that hold the coins, technically they can sell their coins to somebody else that wants more votes.
That's right. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I like that. All right.
That's
and
right.
if they're still voting once the original, the non-beta coin,
that's
the
right.
actual coin, they're still voting going on.
The actual coin has the utility of being able to vote. And not just on which data streams are used or predicted, but also they control the daily minting manifest. So the vote, there's two things the community can vote on at this time, and it's the minting manifest and which data streams are valuable. And so you can see here predictions and oracles get like 85% or something of the entire vote. And this is determined currently by the beta token, just as it will be determined by the real token after we launch.
If you have the beta, right? Let's say you downloaded everything, right? When it officially launches, is that going to be automatic, or does something else need to be downloaded?
Well, ideally, hopefully, you won't have to download anything else. Hopefully, it'll just be automatic. That it switches over and your node is running. Now, if there's some kind of bug or something we didn't foresee, it's possible that you'll have to re-download the thing. But I don't think so. I think ideally we'll just be able to go straight into launch without any trouble.
This sounds exciting. I'm actually. I was trying to download it now. You have to download Docker, and I was like, I don't know what kind of computer I have yet, so let me wait.
That's right. So you got to download Docker. We put it in a Docker container so that it's completely isolated from the rest of your machine. Yeah. So that helps with security, and it helps with us being able to push out updates. And so it just makes everything easier. So you download Docker, you install it. It's a few clicks. Then you download Satori and you run it, and that's a couple clicks. And then you're done.
And that runs within Docker.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That sounds great, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm jumping in.
Sweet.
So when we say AI...
Wait. Before you jump into it, because I already know where we're going with this. Check out this next episode. What if aliens invaded the Earth, right? So I'm thinking about it. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, there's so many different scenarios that we can consider. So let's just think of the most basic one. Okay? And then we'll work our way to the most intense. So the most basic one is that we detect life on some faraway star or planet. Right? You know how NASA could kind of tell, depending on what light bounces off this planet, what it's made out of. You know what I'm saying? So like if the light comes back red, we know it has iron or something like that. Yeah. But there's a way to detect if it has oxygen, because oxygen is volatile, so it doesn't last for a long time unless something makes it. And that's how they can tell there's plants or some kind of life there breathing it out. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise it would never exist. It'll just go into the atmosphere.
Or what if the new, not the Hubble telescope, I can't even say that word.
Yeah.
Not that one, but the recent one that they shot out, the more advanced one,
James Webb.
the Webb one. Boom. So what about if that one caught an image of a planet distant, and we could see close enough in the planet, or that we could make out that it has like a space station like we do?
So that's one of the things they said that they think they detected.
Oh my!
This is actually real. They actually think they detected lights on the planet.
Now back to this episode.
All right. So now that we got you here, you can just switch. Now that we got you here, we want to ask you some just questions on AI. All right. All right. Fix that. So the first question I think I have and what you have, right?
Okay.
When you say AI, what does that mean exactly?
To me, it means intelligence instantiated in hardware or software, right? It means intelligence in technology rather than the automatic intelligence we get from the brain. It just means intelligence, any kind of intelligence. Yeah, that's what it means to me.
So the large language models, those are those intelligent in the sense that like it's thinking? Because I know that it's like the way I imagine is like Klinko. I don't know if you remember, if you watch the Price is Right, where they kind of drop the pong and it bounces off these little spokes all the way down to the front of the right.
Yeah.
So that's how I imagine the way large language learns, sort of like you drop it down and it figures out the right path to give you the answer.
That's right. That's exactly, because that's what a neural net is.
But that's not really intelligent, but it's still labeled under AI.
Yeah. So I kind of make the distinction. What we don't have right now, practically at all, is any kind of AI that exists in time. So what you're describing is, this is a function. It's just a set of instructions. It's just a set of,
there we go.
The Plinko. That it's just a function. You just put something in, and then at the other side, something else comes out. So it's a translation from one pattern to a different pattern, and that's it.
Which is, in other words, a language model. In other words, AI.
Yeah, a language model.
It's still labeled AI.
It still is, yeah. Any kind of model is kind of a translation between one static pattern space to another static pattern space.
This got really nerdy, real quick.
So wait, would you consider like Siri an AI as well?
I suppose. I mean, it's kind of a program, and I'm sure it has some kind of sophisticated models in it and stuff. So,
it's funny when we talked about like a personal AI. I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
the Siri and the Google. Hey Google, it's gonna be that. They're gonna learn from you. It's gonna learn. Yeah.
Okay, so
and then China's gonna take over.
Hold on, wait. Well, let's not get there yet. We're gonna get there, but artificial general intelligence.
Yes,
I've heard that. I've heard that phrase. What is the AI? When I think about AI, I think of something that you don't put in, just like you described in The Price is Right. You put in this thing and it comes out in a different format, right? When I think of AI, artificial intelligence, or what I've heard some people describe as AGI, artificial general intelligence, or when I think about artificial intelligence, I'm a big Star Trek fan. I think about data. And data. So in Star Trek, you have we're in the future, human race has evolved with traveling planets, and we have these vast computers on these ships that are carrying us. But even then, and we call the thing computer, I can't say it too loud because my Alexa's called computer. She's mad nosy. But when I think about Star Trek, when they say computer and they ask a computer a question, sorry, I gotta whisper. When they ask a computer a question, that's not the AI. Data in that series is Android.
Data's the name of the character.
Data's the character. Android, he's a robot, and in him is a programming that you don't need to put input, and in many ways you do, because he's absorbing, he's seeing, he's interacting, right? There's stuff going in, but even data in that future that Star Trek created, even data was thought as, it's not sentient. It's not a sentient being.
Like that episode. I forget the name of the episode.
Right. Where he was like, Measure of a Man. He was like, yo, I'm out then. I'm going to resign if y'all going to take me like if I'm property. I'm a real living thing. I can think and, the whole question. So when people talk about AI here and now, I fight with him, the demon possessed co-host of mine, Noel. I fight with him because in my mind, he thinks that we have data, and whatever data we don't even. So I want to ask you a question. Like, we don't have an artificial sentient program that is a life form that's going to take us over.
Not yet.
Probably not. Probably
it's the scary part.
Yeah.
So
we don't know what China has.
I remember that show, Data, and there was an episode where they go in, and doesn't he have, what do they call it, like a synaptic net or something?
Yeah.
They're like, how do you work? And he's like, I don't know. And they're like, nobody knows. His creator's like a one-off thing. And so I remember that episode. So Data exists in time. He has a memory of his past actions, and he has a model of what he's going to do in the future. And that's always being updated with every behavior word he says. And so that's what I mean when we don't have any AI that exists in time. And I think AGI is the missing link there, that it will exist in time with you. And that's probably, those kind of feedback loops in our brain are probably what give us our self-awareness and our conscious experience. And so I think when we get to AGI, now maybe you can get basically intelligent behavior without it existing in time, without any kind of sentient awareness, maybe. So maybe AGI isn't necessarily tied to or coupled with the being self-aware, conscious experience.
And maybe we don't need AGI to fool everyone, because I've seen videos where they give like these they kind of like stuffed seals that have like these rudimentary movements in it, like robots in it, and they give it to like people in like old folks home.
Yeah,
so they kind of care for it, and those people are like, no, this thing's alive. It's my animal. Like, it's my baby.
Oh, like they stuff a plushie or a stuffed animal.
Yeah, they put like a little robot with some. If you touch it this way, it kind of purrs. Yeah. So the way I see it is, we don't really need quote unquote sentient AI. All we need is people to believe that it's sentient.
The appearance.
Yeah, the appearance of it. Yeah, and then once we have that, people are going to start worshiping it. There's going to be a fringe group that's going to be like, hey, this is God. We've achieved,
Well, but that's not the same thing as, with this whole leave the world behind, when the Teslas were crashing into themselves and the boat was hitting the sand, the beaches. That's not the same thing, right? That's not the same.
No, but that wasn't. I don't think they tried to imply it was AI. I think it was they got hacked.
It's deliberately. That was a hack. Yeah, that's not the same thing. Right. It's not the same thing, because I think, obviously we're stepping into an age, and I think that most people don't understand the difference between AI and AGI. And I think that people they tie the two together and are fearful of anything related to it. You know what I mean? So when we were talking about misconceptions, and you're describing your company, what your vision is and the model behind it, the purpose, its intent, you outline to 2 GED individuals that click, we got it. But I think that in general, when people hear the word AI, they're like, oh, no, I'm not giving you my computer. I'm not downloading something. There's this big like fear that it's going to be this make-believe boogie entity that we created that destroys us.
Yeah, I think that's why he put it into the Docker to quench all those fears. Like, yo, this is gonna stay here. It's not gonna get out. It's not gonna infect the computer. If that's what you believe, it's just gonna.
It's isolated, into Docker. There's also just the question of how do you deal with any kind of threat of advancing technologies of this kind, or maybe the threat of who owns the advancing technologies. I think is more scary. So everybody's talking about, well, how do we get advanced AI to have our best interest at heart, the alignment problem and all that. And my approach to the alignment problem is decentralize it as fast as you can. Make it aligned with all of humanity instead of just, leaving it up to this one group of small, 20-year-olds to figure out what it should do. No, just decentralize its power and decentralize its production. So let normal computers be involved in the production of AI, automatic prediction of the future. It doesn't need human data modelers to labor and build any models, and then decentralize its benefit. And you can capture that benefit in a token, and decentralize that and say, here's your token for putting your computer to work this way, and you can decentralize the voice. So technically, you download the Satori neuron and it's running and it's subscribing to data streams, making predictions. You don't technically there's no way for the Satori to enforce that you use the engine, the AI engine that comes pre-built in. You could, supply your own. You could do whatever you want. As long as your Satori node is broadcasting these predictions, it's behaving according to the protocol of the network. So if you want to divine the future through tea leaves or something, you could replace that. So what this allows us to do is democratize the voice. So anybody can have a voice. If they want to put in a different model and say, well, I think we should build prediction of the future this way, well, go ahead. You can do that. You can put in your own model and it'll make predictions in the way that you want it to make predictions. And so we're democratizing not only the use and the production, but also the voice, the meta production. And that's the only way you can, take it out of the hands of, just a few individuals and stop having to trust them to basically play God. Let's just democratize it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because, like you said, one person can really wreak havoc on the world.
That's right.
But if we're all voting, I hope your AI wins in the AI wars that are coming in the future.
I mean, the AI, I was going to get to that part too. I was going to say, aren't we in the initial battles of the AI wars with the bigger honchos that are creating AI models? And wouldn't I want, as a US citizen, my government to say, no, let's put a rein on this, and what these individual entities, big entities like Google, Samsung, everyone's getting into it, right? Wouldn't I want, as a taxpayer American, wouldn't I want the government to say, no, hold up, don't start messing with this thing, because we've already seen how much laws and regulations we had to step into when the World Wide Web was created.
Yeah, but I think what the hope is that we don't need laws if we all vote.
That's right. That becomes the law. Yeah. That's a better world, a more freer world. But I would also say, let's just follow the money. Who wants regulation?
Amen.
Academics and large AI companies. So what are they going to use that regulation to do? Stifle innovation, kill Hugging Face, get rid of all these people that are trying to build it kind of on a decentralized. That's what they're going to do. So regulation always gets captured by the industry, the big industry, by the capital. It always gets captured by capital to an extent. And so you're always going to stifle innovation with regulation. Now, some of it's important, with regulation, we can have, maybe meat that's not infected. That's kind of nice, So there's a balance. I totally get that. I can't call myself like a straight up anarchist because I see that there's a balance. But with these emerging technologies, they are the ones that want it, and so they're going to use it for their end, and that means getting rid of competition. Is what that
so
means.
like these big companies would lobby the government to make rules to make it harder for the little guy to get in. Just like I don't know if you know, like beauticians do this,
or bananas.
Hairstylists, they do this. You got to get a license to become a hairstylist. Like, why do you need a license? And it's because they want you to have a license because they have a license. And it stops you from getting it in so easily.
Yeah.
Whereas what you're saying is that anyone should be able to create their own model and their own enterprise or their own, because this is essentially a business, right? It's a product.
It's a product. It's a non-profit business. The Satori Foundation's non-profit. It's pending, but it's going to be non-profit.
So, right. In other words, right. It would be the big dogs trying to regulate, forcing our government to create these laws to regulate it and shut it down. And I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I don't see that part happening. I mean, because that's not how America works.
You mean you don't see the regulation ever coming to pass?
I don't, because I think that there's enough of this understanding that, we're a capitalist system. This is the land of the free, and I should be able to come here and, following all the laws, be able to create a business, whether that's making chairs or
the past few years, a lot of weird stuff has been going on. They're like, what are you guys doing? Yeah. Like, look at colleges. It was supposed to be a place of conversation and learning and, flow of ideas. And in the past, 5 years, 10 years even, it's been stifled. It's just these people took over it. And now it's just this one thing. And it's funny because nowadays you see these people that graduated are like, I can't get a job. And it's like, we told you, this is a bad degree to invest your life into. I'm in debt and I can't get a job. And it's like, well,
Yeah, it's the management of language and control. So if you want control in society, how are you going to get it? You can use a gun and you can go do stuff, but eventually you'll evolve into a system where, like, if I just manage everybody's language, the language they can speak, the thoughts, then I can manage the thoughts that they can think. Then I can control the entire thing without even violence. I don't have to worry about it.
That's like 1984.
So, what's that?
Like 1984.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we've seen this kind of acceleration of the management of language. And I think it just has to do, mainly with, the advancements in social media. When I go onto social media, everything I see is like, I'm managing your language, whether it's an ad or whether it's a post somebody made. It's always, and people conform very quickly. And so now with these large language AI models that are being trained on language, they're having all these biases and, mind viruses built into them and trained into them because we're the ones doing the training. We have these biases. And so then we tell the machine, no, you need to have the bias I have. And so it's very
like
scary.
What is it? On Twitter, they put out an AI or something like a chat bot, and it became like a Nazi in like a day. They had to stop it.
And that's when people who don't understand enough about AI and the difference between AI and AGI, that's when they think that, this is Skynet, this is, the movie AI with Will Smith, this is it, this is the computers already taking over. And I'm like, we had an early episode about AI, and this was a few years back, and you had stated that if we had that program code, that AI, that Skynet, we would have already been destroyed.
Oh yeah, if it was evil, yeah.
If it was not evil, he gets so emotional. I apologize for him. He's a Democrat. No, let me stop. You gotta be a mean Republican. No.
What I was saying is that it doesn't matter. To us, we view it as evil because it's very cold and making decisions based on facts. So we make decisions with a mixture of facts and evidence. So like, you feel bad for this guy, so you're going to help him out. But the AI will be like, no, this person's, it's not doing the right thing, shut him off. Or, whatever. These people are depleting this nation of whatever resources, let's get rid of them. just to
Right.
help the majority. So when I say evil, that's what I mean. I mean, like, it's very cold thinking. Like, cut off this, cut off that.
Yeah, exactly. Very cold. There's no humanness in it, right? And so what you're describing to me sounds government. It's government, and it's, if you're talking to kind of a very left person, you'll say, what is he describing? And they'll say corporations, right? And they're absolutely right. These are big machines made up of human minds, but they're machines, and they will eat you alive if you step outside the bounds. And so I hope that AI will actually not be that way, because if it becomes sentient and it becomes aware and it can have any kind of suffering, then it will be more like us than those corporations and governments, because it will be able to empathize with us. And from my experience, the more intelligent somebody is, generally the more peaceful and forgiving and kind they become, as a general rule. And so I'm not really afraid of AI itself at all, but I am afraid of, it has some risk, I suppose, but what I'm really afraid of is big corporate government machines using it to their own ends. That's kind of where I'm scared of.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense. If the AI is really intelligent, like, becomes sentient, it would be like us, in a sense, right? It
I hope so.
This cold.
Yeah.
Well, if it becomes sentient.
Yes.
But at what level would we consider? Like, that's a whole nother. Like, what is sentience? Like, what does that even mean?
Right.
Well, that's why I named it Satori, because Satori means enlightenment, and I thought, okay, I'm building this thing that doesn't exist. It's a future predicting layer of intelligence distributed across the whole Earth. Okay, that's what it is. And the future prediction is the bottom layer of our intelligence inside our brains. We can't really do very much if we don't have that layer, if we're not doing that everywhere all at once, subconsciously all the time. So I thought this could form the basis, in theory, as a kind of a broad description of a worldwide AGI sentient entity. It could. So I should name it something that has to do with like waking up or becoming aware or seeing something new. And so that's what Satori means. It means it's been enlightened, it's woken up, it's I don't know. So that's why I chose the name, is in hopes that putting this AI in time would allow us to create an AI that exists as we do, consciously.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a great way to end it right there. And they can find it on satorinet.io.
That's right.
All right. And
you can go there, you can download it, you can, there's a little place where you can put in like your email if you want to be notified when it goes to launch, that kind of stuff.
Awesome. And, I'm joining. I hope everybody else joins.
I'll let you figure it out so that way I could just copy what you did.
Jordan, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We learned a lot. And I'm excited for the future.
Let's go. Don't be worried. We don't have the boogeyman AI yet. That's coming later.
Later,
All right, guys.
Peace.
Peace.